and welcome back to the LEC Summer Season 2021, Game 5 of Day 2 of Week 5.
Oh, you got there.
That's where we are.
It is going to be a banger.
It better be, because we just had a banger and then another banger.
G2 versus Rogue is always a banger in my eyes, and the players are here in studio. Now, I can confirm that Jankos did not wave at us, which we took personally.
I will say, you know who waved at us? Mickey waved at us, and Trimby waved at us. It just shows supports are nicer than other people.
Yep. So, yeah, there you go. Just more hate on Jankos. That's all. Anyway. Right. G2 versus Rogue is going to be a fantastic game. For Rogue, this is about cementing themselves at the top of the table. But for G2, it's about proving that they're back in form. They got a big win against Astralis yesterday, but to be honest, they beat Astralis, which perhaps are the greatest team in the world based on their earlier performance, or perhaps it is a team that G2 wants to prove that they can do better than. Caps, well, has shaved his head, and a lot of people seem to think that he is now, I don't know, the greatest player in existence. We will see how things work out as we are going to be jumping into draft for our final game of the day.
There we are. A little bit of a convoluted intro there, Vedius, but here are the important beats. G2, currently sitting in the middle of the table, are looking to start winning ways once again. Their win against Astralis was great because they were on a 4-game losing streak, and the longest losing streak they've ever had was 4 games in the LEC at least. Rogue, though, with a win here, solidify themselves as the sole owners of top spot after being 7th only 3 or 4 splits ago, Vedi.
Exactly that. So, without further ado, let's get straight into the draft. Nocturne going to be taken off the board. Akali also removed from the side of G2 Esports. A little surprising there. Gwen and Xin Zhao can be banned on the side of Rogue. So what is G2's first pick? Viego is kind of what is jumping out to me right now. We have been seeing a decent amount of Lee Sin from Jankos. However, I don't think that's going to be a first pick. Varus is also something that G2 put a lot of priority on. But yeah, to see themselves remove the Akali is quite surprising. LeBlanc has been removed a lot today, is up and available, but Lucian is going to be the lock-in. Also been seeing a lot of bans today, still very strong in the current batch. Will, of course, give over the Viego to Rogue, which I currently assume is going to be in the jungle for Inspired, for Rogue in the similar way to for Fnatic. That is normally where they like to play the champion.
Inspired is the only one that has played Viego on Rogue, at least this summer. Well, since he's out, I guess, because he's only been out this summer. Expectations are he will take it once again, and what better hands to have it in. Inspired, probably the best jungler in the league right now, just in terms of overall impact in the game. And alongside that, we'll see where Rogue decide to go. Kalista is their lock here for Hans Sama.
Okay, so Rogue already getting themselves a very comfortable draft. Hans Sama and Trimby, a very aggressive bot lane duo. Now the hover for Draven. Reckless's Draven is something that I would love to see. The thumbs up are coming out from Hans Sama. He's calling him out on stage right now. Oh, I love that from Hans. The disappointment from Hans as he doesn't get to play against the Draven. It will be the Tristana lock-in. Oh, but I love having the players back on stage. The call-outs to one another. Absolutely a joy to watch. So G2 going for that AP-AD mid-jungle duo, and they're going to round their first half out with the Tristana in the bot lane. So depending on what support matchup they get, they can actually have push in this 2 versus 2. But let's see what Rogue now choose to round things out with.
I don't expect it to be the Zed. Instead, the Nautilus will be locked in. Of course, we've already talked about the Kalista Nautilus and the power of that engage for XL in the last game here. Of course, it goes over to Hans Sama and Trimby, who are probably the best bottom lane in terms of pure 2v2 across the course of Summer so far. Most 2v2 kills at 8, I believe, across the last 5 weeks. As we move into the second phase of picks and bans, what have we got? Well, Rogue need a mid laner and probably a top laner.
I love this Poppy ban because when you look at the number of jumps that have been coming out from this Rogue squad, the number of dashes, Poppy is just such a good pick. We already saw it from Mickey. I think it was yesterday. And I think that he's been sitting on that pick for a really long time. His other pocket pick is Gragas that he's brought out. Well, you remember the Yasuo Gragas bot lane that he used to play with Perks. One of his most favorite champions as well. I don't think we're going to see the Gragas in this game, but Set is the other one that I am thinking about that they could actually run down in that support position. But the Leona being removed, I think, is another really good ban here from Rogue. 2 very powerful supports that Mickey has showcased so far this split that could be very difficult for this Rogue bot lane to deal with.
Of course, Leona synergizes so well with Diana. When she jumps in, you just put the Solar Flare on top of the Moonfall, and you get the power of the sun and the moon combined in a huge AoE. G2 ban out that LeBlanc that you were talking about earlier, Vedius, and with Rogue still needing to pick their mid laner, that makes a lot of sense. Alongside that, the Victor taken away from Larssen. Where will Larssen go? He has played Orianna, Lucian, Jace. Of course, Lucian already taken away from him. I wonder if he'll go towards another control mage. Larssen didn't have the best of splits so far, but is quietly beginning to find his former form.
Yeah, with the return of control mages, he definitely seems a lot more comfortable. I'd love to see them lock in the Ziggs. I think the Ziggs is a very powerful flex pick, and while you would know that it's going in mid lane, instead they're going to go for the Orianna. So a classic for Larssen, one of his most played, alongside things like the Azir and Victor. Just a classic control mage, offers good utility, good damage, and also great scaling. Not usually a lane that you play around, but that's kind of what Larssen prefers anyway. So let's see what direction G2 now go. Do they want to go for something? Yes, they want to go for something a little more defensive. Kind of took the words right out of my mouth before I could say them. The Braum going to be locked in, so a little bit more of a safe bot side of the map. Can still set up plays, but you're very reliant on the opposition being that primary engage tool. And they're going to go for the blind pick Renekton. So a little bit more of an early game focus comp. With the both Renekton and Lucian, very dominant 1v1 laners that are about pushing lanes, very much about having your jungler play towards you, and can act as a very powerful frontline. Hodoamne just showcasing his depth of champion pool. Of course, Trimby on the hover list right now, but he has a number of champions that he can pick into this situation. It's going to be his Mundo champion that he's actually spoken to me a lot about. When I spoke to him about it last week, he was saying, I think it's good, but I don't know if I'm biased. He says that he just thinks the champion is super fun, so he's just been having a lot of fun with it, but he doesn't know if it's actually good in pro yet. But then with Anathema's Chains also coming out, he was like, nope, this champ's good. And so we've seen it a lot from Wunder, and now we're going to get to see it from the man himself.
My expectation is we'll see Anathema's Chains picked up perhaps on a couple of people on Rogue, because there's only one AP threat on the side of G2, and that's where Anathema's Chains is so much more powerful than something like an Abyssal Mask. You can just put it on the AP threat and then build Ninja Tabi, plated steel caps and more armor, and you put yourself in a really good position. Having a look at the compositions holistically though, Vedius, you said G2 Esports perhaps more early skewed with the Lucian and Renekton. What are your thoughts?
Well, I think that G2 do have prio in mid and top, at least in the early game. That's where my expectations are. So G2 are likely to play towards the top side of the map. Rogue, a little bit more prio on the bot side of the map. So I wouldn't be surprised to see them invest a couple of resources towards this Kalista and Nautilus. So I think that, you know, a kind of classic cross map, and it comes down to who is able to get those advantages and where they can leverage them. Because when you have prio top, it makes it easier to TP down towards the bot side of the map as well. So while I don't think that there's going to be a lot of bloodshed early, I think there is a lot of potential for plays for both teams in the early phase of play. It's going to be an interesting one. Every time these two teams mate, it is a banger, but G2 always comes out on top during the regular season. So I can't wait for it, Medic. It's going to be a good one. So without further ado, let's jump right in.
You said that as if we were about to have
I was kind of like...
But you didn't actually see the countdown thing in the wall, so...
Because I was looking at the prompter.
Yeah. We still got a few seconds, Vedius.
Okay.
Oh, okay. We still got a few more seconds than we'd usually have, so we can keep talking here as we wait to get on into the game. And as you say, it is always a banger. As we now are on to Solar's Rift. 0-11, the regular season scoreline between G2 and Rogue, or the other way around, Rogue and G2. Constantly, we see G2 getting the upper hand on Rogue, but perhaps Rogue looking for something here at the level 1. Caps caught by an infected Cleaver. Lady of the Moon King coming out as well. There's another Cleaver. You say he's got a flash. He jumps across the wall, and that is a Summoner Burnt for the G2 mid laner.
I'm just going to quickly check if he actually started with his E there, because I wasn't sure if he used it early on. I think he did, yeah. I think I saw him use his E, so his E would have still been on cooldown. And of course, Observers are highlighting it right now for us. So yeah, loss of flash for Caps, gonna suck for him. Still though, should still give him, as a Lucian, he should still have prio in this lane early on, but he might want to respect it just a little bit more due to that lack of flash. Orianna not the most threatening at level 1. Perhaps unless you're Larssen. Of course, you can still use that Q to harass in lane. The mana cost isn't that extreme, but Lucian, because you can use your auto attacks to harass, you're just so more deadly and so much more threatening, as you can see on your screen right now. So just trades going back and forth. as we see more trades happening in the bot side of the map.
Yeah, Trimby lands the hook here onto Mickey. Of course, you don't want to take extended trades into a Braum and Tristana because the concussive blows passive can do a lot of work in that bottom lane. But for the moment, just trading across the map. And we can come back to that point you were saying and that we've set up a few times across the course of the day, Vedius. G2 versus Rogue. Now, in the regular season, G2 have won 11 of 11 games. Rogue have struggled. And Rogue have really only risen to top tier position in the last year or so in terms of LEC. But in playoffs, actually, wait a second, no way. You're diving Rekkles? You're only level 2? Rekkles is not quite dead in the end. He does go down, but this is a double. Rekkles gets one, Mickey gets one, and I'm gonna say Rogue, what on earth was that?
So, Rekkles is still level 1, which is a pretty big deal, and now the wave is slow pushing against him. So on paper, this might look like that it wasn't worth it. And from a gold perspective, it probably wasn't. But what Rekkles loses as a result of this, I think is actually a really big deal. So, Trimby takes the initial tower aggro, as you would come to expect. He takes that first tower shot, but the damage from the two of them is huge. Then the ignite, while Mickey is also just hitting him, and Rekkles is hitting him, of course, means that they actually end up trading 2 kills for 1. But again, the experience and the fact that Rekkles lost his heat. Well, okay, 80 carries are in a similar position, but Mickey losing his flash and the fact that the wave is actually pushing away from Rekkles, I think can be a really big deal. At least that is how I'm interpreting it.
It depends on what Inspired does now, right? Because if Inspired can now make this cost Rekkles more, then it's great. But if Rekkles and Mickey get a free laning phase from this point on, then they don't actually lose too much out of it. Jankos looking for Larssen in the mid lane. You can see Inspired is trying to team up with Trimby in the bottom lane to make this really hurt for G2.
Yeah, and you can see how awkward it is right now for Rekkles. That CS discrepancy is only going to continue to grow because the wave is going to get stuck in this part of the lane. And Trimby and Handsummer just want to keep the wave here for as long as possible, but Mickey and Rekkles did just get level 3. Jankos is now on the way down to clear out some vision. And I like what Jankos did there, pathing towards bot to basically say like, hey, I'm here to help you unstick, or unfreeze rather, the wave. And now you're safe to push this one out because we know that Inspired is not here.
Well, a little bit of an explosive start to this game, and no real surprises that Rogue wanted to put a lot of eggs in the Handsummer basket. He is having a stormer of a split, 1,000 gold ahead on average at the 15-minute mark. Yeah. I will say his CSD, he played against a center lane, so that is slightly skewed, I believe, towards the fact that he played against that center, but he is still having very strong laning phases.
He certainly is. Handsummer, I think in the conversation for MVP this split, he's had a very strong performance. Odoam even said on PGL that he feels he's playing even better than he was last split. Yeah. I love that he was calling Rekkles out to play the Draven on stage, saying like, hey, it's my pick. If you can play it into me, I'd love to see that. Ends up going for the Tristana anyway, but still, like, the confidence the Handsummer has, especially when you think back to when he started the shy young man on Misfits back in 2017. A very talented player, but not one that really, like, stood out in a sense. Of course, he still had his very strong picks. As another hook does land in the bot lane.
Mickey's forced back a little bit here. Concussive Blow is going to go down on Trimby as well. Handsummer looking to get that Rend off. Inspired on his way down.
G2, they know that someone's in the river, but they don't quite know where. But that ward in the Dragon Pit is now going to give them information as to where Inspired is. What does Jankos do as an answer? He's pathing his way towards mid. Wunder is making his way down as well. Are they looking to push this one through so they can contest? That is the impression that I'm getting. Even Smite came through onto the cannon minion too. Jankos is very committed to challenging this.
But how do you do it without Smite? What's Jankos going to do? He hits a Q. Inspired does still have flash and will secure it. Flashes away from Jankos. The chase is on now, though. G2 looking for kills, not for the objectives. Inspired down. Rekkles gets the kill. Oh, that blast cone timing was beautiful from Handsummer. Rekkles gets 1 kill and gets out.
Yeah, so I'm in agreement with you. I'm surprised that Jankos smited the cannon. Obviously, his goal there was to help Caps get the push so that he can collapse faster as an ult comes through. Response from Larssen using the last bit of his mana. But yeah, when he then dives into the Drake pit, he then doesn't have the smites to actually contest it. So perhaps he believed that the Drake was going down slower, so he would actually have enough time to force Rogue off, meaning that his smite wasn't that important, or he was willing to just take that flip regardless. So as you can see here, he's going to use his smite on the cannon to help Caps get that push in mid so that he can ideally then collapse along with Wunder. But then as he dives into the pit, he then doesn't have his smite, so that he can't really steal that one away. It would have just been in range as well, but they still end up getting that kill onto Inspired, and they put that onto Rekkles as well, so a little bit more money into his back pocket.
Actually, Trimby who ordered the blast cone, so credit for him saving himself. Although I do wonder if Rekkles had jumped in there whether or not Trimby could have burst him down alongside Hans Summer before anyone else was able to come along and help. We did see some picture-in-picture trading in the top lane. Odoamne does still have his ultimate. Wonder tanks up a tower shot here. Maybe Odoamne oversteps. Jankos has been spotted, I believe, on that control ward in the river, so Odoamne now knows he's in a 2v1, a numbers disadvantage with Inspired on the way.
And look at the supports. Pings are coming down because Mickey's already roaming up, but Trimby has changed his path. He was going bot, immediately paths back up towards top lane and says, hang on, I've got to make sure that I'm here to cover, and now he's going to spot Mickey out. Let's see if they go for a fight.
I think Trimby's been very willing to swing that anchor a few times in this game already. Just chunks out Mickey a little bit. Rekkles also around the mid lane here. Hans Summer catching a wave in the bottom lane. This is a 4v2 in favor of G2, but Rekkles can't quite get close enough to get those auto attacks down. Trimby with a good anchor toss gets himself underneath the tower.
Certainly does. And the rotation from Rekkles as well. Something we often see from the G2 bot lane. They're very quick to rotate into the mid lane. They're down for a fight. Jankos in a bit of a awkward situation, so he's forced to drop his E out, but Rekkles not going to lose anything here on the bot lane. He is down a lot in CS, and it comes back to what happened in that early game. That very early dive, creating that CS discrepancy. The fact that Hans Summer could keep the wave in such an awkward spot has created this CS discrepancy. But if we could quickly look at the gold, I actually think they're very even. 3.1 to 3.1. So very, very small lead for Rekkles, but overall, they are dead even. So those kills that he got in the early game, equalizing that CS disadvantage.
A little bit of a lead for Wonder in the top lane as well, about 300 gold ahead. Inspired's going to get the second neutral objective here, securing himself and Rogue the Rift Herald, and can use that to try and break some of these plates. Because right now, Rogue are a little bit in the hole, about 1,000 gold behind. It's not something we have commonly seen from Rogue across the course of this season. They are usually the team in the advantage, and G2 have been able to pick up a couple of kills, get a few CS leads, and now get more plates into Rekkles as well.
Well, I think that their game plan in the early game was to commit a bunch of summoners, force G2 to use a bunch of summoners, and then look for these chain ganks. But after the spot out on the Drake due to that ward and Inspired getting caught off guard, I think that their whole early game plan has kind of been put on the back foot. But if there's anything we can say about Rogue is that even if they're... Well, I think that one of the most consistent things we've actually said about Rogue is that when they get taken off their plan is when they're at their weakest. However, as a team, I think that they've evolved, that they're actually quite good to pivot. And okay, if one person isn't doing as well in the early game as you expect them to, then someone else normally steps up for the team.
Yeah, and a lot of that actually falls on the back of Inspired, because remember last week when Hans Summer fell behind on the Kalista, it was Inspired who decided, let's go up towards top lane, let's gank Odoamne, let's get him ahead. And then constantly, this guy is just having such an incredible split after split. These numbers don't really show how much impact he has for the team, but he is the driving force behind Rogue's early games when they go well, and Rogue's early games changes when they're going poorly.
Yeah, and I think it's one of those things where like stats often require a lot of context. And for sure, when you're playing well, your stats often look good. But for a player like Inspired, his impact isn't always felt in like a statistically dominant way, right? Yeah. It's just a large part of his decisions, the way he counters and the way he answers, and the fact that it was he who got spotted out on the ward, and it was he who was punished by Jankos specifically. Like, that is not something that we typically see from a player like Inspired. And again, props to Jankos in terms of what he was doing in this early game. He is a little bit behind in terms of farm, and I'm quite surprised because Jankos has actually been stealing a lot of camps away from Inspired, but he's been answering on the cross map. A lot of damage now coming down onto Wonder, does have the ultimate up, but Inspired is around him along with Jankos. Both junglers continuing to match.
Both going to be spotted on these control wards as well. Odoamne going in, there's the ultimate out from Wonder, Dominus popped, Jankos stepping forward, as you say, G2 lose this, Spectral Maw stun immediately, the Moonfall doing a lot of damage though, and Jankos trying to trade onto Odoamne, here's the TP, G2 going for it, Jankos diving in, Inspired already down, but the TP was stopped. Caps ate a shockwave from Larssen, and so now Odoamne is left on his own underneath the tower. Can Larssen get away to TP himself? It's about to come back off cooldown. Meanwhile, in the bottom lane, Trimby has to get away with the Fate's Call. That's another plate to G2, and you said they lose it. G2 are not having that. We both agreed, Veddy. We thought G2 wouldn't win that 2v2.
So the biggest thing was the teleport from Caps. That is what swung it into G2's favor, because if Rogue had committed to the 2 versus 2, I really think that they would have come out on top. Wonder's HP was far too low. Jankos doesn't really have the damage to be able to get through the Mundo this early into the game, and his ultimate was just in full swing. He was regenerating all that HP, but then the TP comes through. They realize they're about to find themselves in a 3 versus 2, and so they're like, okay, we disengage, and that is when Wonder said, I can flash W, and then we can one-shot Inspired, who is squishy enough early on. So Caps really the big swing factor in that play, being able to turn that one around. We're gonna, once again, we're gonna see back what we were talking about so So Wonder's HP at this point is just too low, right? He gets chunked out. The regeneration is coming through from Odoamne. And look, Jankos is basically going to tickle Odoamne, and he's really not going to care. And then Inspired is full HP. So Wonder can't do anything. And then Odoamne backs off. The TP gets interrupted, and we have to go back to live.
Glacial Fissure hits Trimby. Still has the flash to try and get away from this one. Mickey now perhaps a little bit overstepping, but with the Dragon up, it had already been started, it looks like, by Rogue. Inspired eats a honey fruit and will be able to regenerate some of his health. Odoamne does not have TP. Wonder on his way down. His TP is off cooldown. And G2 for the moment won't take this full fight. That's a Rift Herald popped by Inspired. That will work its way towards the mid lane.
It's definitely an awkward one. Not how Rogue traditionally use their Rift Heralds. Usually you always see them like pushing in that top wave, creating that cross map. While it will get a charge into the mid lane, and Inspired will get some gold off the back of it, it's not generating the priority that you normally see. So in this early game, Rogue are definitely being shaken by G2.
I mean, it's a great start from G2.
It certainly is. The fact that Jankos is tracking Inspired very well. He is everywhere that Inspired tries to be. Like, even at the level 3 mark, we saw him path towards bot, sit in the brush, clear out the vision, simply to tell Rekkles and Mickey, the jungler's not here, you can push out this wave, let's unfreeze things here. You can see that Rekkles has been able to close the gap in terms of CS. He is now ahead in gold. Wonder is doing very well in the 1v1 in top lane, and now they're flashing in.
Flashing for Mickey. Hans Summer's going to get locked up here. Really no place for him to go. Rekkles jumping forward, gets the kill, and now the chase is on. Trimby's going to try and flash away, but the G2 players are unrelenting. 2 quick kills once again to G2 in the bottom lane.
And Rekkles does not need Draven to find advantages in the bot lane. Mickey and Jankos setting him up for success. They provide the CC, they provide the damage, and now G2 find themselves with a 3k gold lead, only 14 minutes in.
You can see this is Mickey. Oh, just beautiful. Nice. Flash Winter's Bite, the concussive blows come out. And
Hail of Blades from Rekkles as well. The damage was just too much for Hans Summer. He didn't use his flash because he knew it was a waste of time. And while Mickey does get that kill in the end, Jankos would have loved it, but in the end, it all works out for G2. 3k is now the gold lead for them, and G2 are doing a good job of putting Rogue off their controlled, clean early game, and they are very quickly gaining control over this game.
And what a difference it is for G2 as well. Like, 0-4 in the last couple of weeks. They beat Astralis yesterday, but I think we all agree that was a bit of a messy affair. It was a lot more sloppy than we're used to seeing G2. And then today, against the team that have looked consistently the best team in the league, they're just destroying them in the early game. Like, this is a shellacking so far. Even after Rogue put so much investment into getting Rekkles behind, he's now 3-1-2 with a Kraken Slayer, a bounty on his head, and the most gold in the game. G2 are having a superb performance.
Well, scaling is the other thing you have to bear in mind. Now, of course, G2, they do still have a pretty solid scaling comp, but it's this Mundo that I'm keeping my eyes on. Champions like Viego, Larsen's Orianna, they're not really having much of an impact at this point in the game. But that's sort of what you expect, Inspired even being put a little bit behind due to being counter-ganked. And while Rekkles and Mickey are finding these advantages, how will they work out in the team fights? Because G2's engage is not that strong. Remember, they kind of want Rogue to engage onto them.
This is bad for Rogue. Caps is on his way. Larsen not there, doesn't have the TP. Tower's already down. Mickey puts up the Unbreakable, but Trimby going to be left for the Wolves. Jankos diving in there. The Fate's Call comes out. Trimby's chucked back into the team, and now it's a 5v5 in the top lane. Trimby already down. That's Rekkles's 2,000th kill in the LEC. The first player to ever hit that milestone. G2 will get the single kill and will walk their way out.
Huge congratulations to Rekkles. 2,000 kills here in the LEC is a massive achievement. Just goes to show how long he has been playing here in Europe. But it looks like that he is not done and he wants more.
Odoamne trying to get away from Rekkles here as he jumps forward. Mickey, not that much mana. Winter's Bite will be just about available for him. Odoamne still chases G2 out of the jungle. G2 get a kill, a tower, a 4,500 gold lead, Vedius, and Rekkles gets his 2k kills.
Wow, that is a lot. The first in LEC history, I do believe. And absolutely crazy achievement. How long he has been playing for. Fnatic has often been his home, but this year, joining G2, he has struggled just a little bit. And hopefully, he, alongside G2, can find their form again as he now finds the 1v1 against Hans Summer. That call out in draft, he's going to answer with a solo kill and a classic Happy B.
Just needs a thumbs up across the auditorium as well.
5-1-2 is now his scoreline. He's been involved in 7 of G2's 8 kills. The team They haven't really funneled a huge amount of resources into him. It's just whenever there's an opportunity to give him a kill, they've given him one. And now he sits with a 1.5k gold lead over Hans Sama. Guess he was tired of hearing all these people say that Hans Sama was perhaps the best AD carry in the league. He's trying to answer and silence some of those doubters.
Definitely a pop-off performance from him so far. Now gets himself a Zeal. Hans Sama has the Immortal Shield bow complete, and Rogue continued just to look for things, but every time they've tried to look for things in the last few minutes, it has come back to bite them. Trimby with the hook away, Jankos going in, there's the Moonfall, and it's unfair for Trimby here. 0-4-1. The problem is he always has to be the one looking for the initiation as well. There's no one really else on his team that can go in for that initial hook, for that initial dive.
He's also just trying to get some vision control, and he's getting collapsed as a result. Mickey constantly able to land that crowd control to set up the follow-up. G2 now, they're creating pressure in mid. You can see Rekkles 1v1 against Hans Sama. He knows he wins. He is so much stronger and is able to secure that tower. He's then going to use his control to move towards the bot side of the map, set it for the Drake spawning in about 10 seconds time. And G2 just have all the control in the early game. We have not seen this G2 for a while. Jankos has tracked, inspired all across the map. The bot lane has been dominating. Wunder getting advantages in a lane that he is favored in terms of the early game. Caps falling a little bit behind early, but he also did lose his flash, to be fair. But G2 just really stepping up across the board, and Rogue are being routed right now. Let's see if they can turn things around as the game progresses. The disadvantage that they find themselves in is pretty significant, but there's still the aspect of team fights that Rogue could potentially find as G2 look for another pick.
Odoamne will just be able to walk away from this one. Infected Bonesword dodged to the side there. As you say, like Rogue do still have team fights that Orianna Shockwave can do a lot of work, and although Larssen has been relatively quiet, he has been farming up 190 farm in only 18.5 minutes of gameplay. Already got that Ludens complete on his way towards an Archangels or a Seraphs or whatever item he wants to build next. So Rogue do still have some opportunities. A 5k gold lead is not insurmountable, as G2 proved to us last week against Misfits. But it is going to be very difficult, because I've seen a lot of Rekkles in my years in the LEC, and it tends to be when he's 5-1 at the 19-minute mark, it is very difficult to wrest that game out of his hands.
He's also quite famous for his Tristana.
Yeah.
Just a bit.
Just a tad.
There was that series against G2 where he did get that pentakill, and then he got another one. Different champion, but same series. Yeah, so Rekkles is quite good at this champion, and it's one of those things where oh, hang on. TP flank coming in from Larssen.
Larssen's looking for it.
Not gonna find it.
Farm alarm. Just wanted to farm the minions. There's not really anything to fight over for this bottom side. I guess they're trying to protect this tower because that's G2's next point of focus. The last remaining outer turret. Rogue yet to break any of G2's towers. Have got a few plates, but haven't been able to get much more than that on the map. And it does make me wonder a little bit if there is some truth to the curse, Vedius. Rogue still yet to beat G2 in the regular season, and this isn't looking close.
Every time you bring up that graphic, someone flashes. You have a power medic. Oh, here we go, another fight.
There's the Glacial Fissure. Goes between Inspired and Larssen. TP coming in from Odoamne. He's going to chase down Caps, but Jankos and Rekkles are here. Looks like G2 don't want to take this fight. They're willing just to back away.
Okay. So a couple summoners were burned, the flash from Mickey. Caps able to get out, but Larssen also losing his flash along with the TP from Odoamne. As you mentioned, Medic. Drake spawning in about 2.5 minutes. Baron is, of course, now up and alive. I don't think that's going to be the priority for either of these teams, but still something you have to pay very important attention to, because a bad team fight could spell the opening of that objective. Larssen now going to complete his Seraphs. The second item now done for Caps. Actually going to go for the Cyrilda's Grudge as a second item. Not too uncommon on Lucian, but often things like the mana you would often see on Lucian as well. Yep. In any case, gives you a little bit more lethality. And the slow in particular is very, very potent. But Rogue, they haven't really been able to find any successful plays over the last few minutes. They're just continuing to farm up. I think that Orianna should be considered quite strong right now. Mundo is slowly but surely getting there, and once Viego has the Sterak's engaged, then there's definitely a window where they can actually look to challenge and fight G2. The biggest problem is, of course, Rekkles right now. He is very close to completing his third major item, which will be that Lord Dominik's Regards. Makes a lot of sense against a champion like Mundo. Not much healing reduction coming out yet from G2, from what I can tell. But towers continue to fall, of course, outside the Executioners sitting on top of Wonder.
Yeah, of course, Mickey also has the Ignite, so you can decide to make sure you put that on Odoamne in the middle of a fight. But what we have seen with Mundos has been more of, let's ignore him and kill everyone else, and then we'll kill the Mundo afterwards. And when you have consistent DPS in the form of 280 carries, you can kind of do that. You know you'll be able to kill the Mundo. He's not going to be able to regenerate through constant barrage of cannon shots and Lucian Sentinel guns, whatever they're called, relic guns. Becomes difficult for Odoamne to navigate those fights. G2, though, having taken the tier 1s, set their eyes on the tier 2s. 52nd on the Drake. It will be their third of the game if they can take it. For the moment, Rogue really don't seem to have an answer. Perhaps waiting on that Sterak's, as you said, or perhaps just waiting for G2 to make a mistake.
Perhaps. I like that we're seeing the Warden's Mail come out from Odoamne against the double AD carry composition. It makes a lot of sense. But Rekkles and Mickey looking for an opportunity. Again, worth highlighting, like Rekkles, I think that for a lot of fans, they are concerned because it's like Alliance all over again.
Yeah.
You know, like, oh, he lost the last split. Oh, hang on, hang on. Oh, he sidesteps it. They don't know.
Oh, Trimby just walks straight into him. Depth charge coming out as well. Rekkles won't be able to get the extra auto attacks down, but the Glacial Fissure means the Fate's Call has to be used.
Wow, nice sidestep there from Mickey. Able to just navigate that, the Warden, I think it's called. Or the little,
Sentinel.
The Sentinel.
That's interesting, because Sentinels are the thing that fight the Ruination, but Kalista is very ruined.
True. Let's not get into a lore discussion right now.
True.
I'll leave that to the lore experts, because I'm definitely not one of them. Caps now getting chased down a little bit by Odoamne.
Jankos is on the Dragon. As you said, not much healing reduction coming out from Caps, and Odoamne just flashing in, looking for the Heart Zapper. The Doctor will see you now, but in the end, Caps is able to get away. Odoamne, the Shockwave won't be enough to save him. Jankos gets the kill. Wonder TP'd in, and Odoamne, the appointment, unfortunately was postponed.
Very close to getting that solo kill onto Caps. Wasn't forced to use the flash, though, as Odoamne did commit to getting that kill, and now Wonder has found Larssen.
He knows Larssen doesn't have the Shockwave, doesn't have flash, but Wonder won't be able to get the damage down he was looking for. Jankos here just taking the third Dragon of the game, was doing that before Caps got so unfortunately caught out. But in the end, that just gave them another kill. So it's 10-1 on the scoreboard and a 6,000 gold lead as Rekkles jumps towards Larssen. That's a lot of damage. Rekkles is dominating 6-1 as he flashes forward for the kill.
All right. Rekkles is a happy bee today. So the last game I saw him stream today was a Vayne game, where I distinctly remember him saying, why did this game go so wrong? We were so fed early. And now I'm tilted. And I remember him specifically saying, yeah, I'm kind of tilted. And that was the last thing I saw from his stream. And now he's 6-1-2 and flashing after Larssen. Oh, and now he's killing Trimby, who's going to have to use that ultimate to get to safety. Knocker, dead.
Yeah, that was not fair. Hans Summer's heal was just too late. Odoamne TP'd in behind them as well. As you can see, Rogue are looking for something, but I'm afraid they're not going to find too much apart from the waiting arms of Rekkles. Another kill goes over to G2, and another as they just step forward into the base. The Shockwave hits. Rekkles took no damage from that Shockwave. He's still full HP with one minion walking.
He wanted to lose tower aggro, I think. I legitimately think that he was worried. No, I think he thought that that tower might have killed him. That's what I think he thought. Wasn't necessary, no, but you know what? It's fine.
Yeah, you're 14 kills to 1 up. You're in a pretty good position. Betty, you promised us a banger.
I did, and instead...
It's kind of a banger, or is it the mash that comes along with the two bangers that we had?
I think it's more of a slaughter, personally. G2, from beginning to... I mean, level 1, it looked good for Rogue. They got the flash out from Caps. They dived Rekkles, tried to deny a bunch of gold experience from him. And then since that point, it has just been nothing but a one-sided affair. Jankos was able to track Inspired throughout the early game. He was able to shut him down. He was able to find successful counter ganks, and everything that Rogue tried to do immediately was denied. So perhaps the curse is one that can never be undone. XL could not defeat Fnatic in the last game, continue to be winless against Fnatic, and now Rogue looking to continue their losing streak against against G2 during the regular season.
One thing that does excite me about this game obviously we would, it would have been great if it was closer, but seeing G2 back on this sort of form is really encouraging for the rest of the season, right? Because competition breeds success, in my opinion. When's EU been the most successful? When Fnatic and G2 were constantly fighting each other for first place. When Rogue and Mad Lions were fighting each other for first place. So to see G2 get out of, I mean, it's only one game, so we're not going to say they're totally out of whatever slump they've been in, is a joy, at least for this single game. We'll see if they can continue this form through the rest of summer, because right now they've killed off 2 members of Rogue. Jankos pops the stopwatch. There's the third to follow it up. Rekkles with a triple. He's looking for more. Shockwave pulls him back. Larssen not going to give Rekkles his penta today. Another kill comes in as G2 are 18-1. Only Rekkles has died. Not usual that you can say that in the G2 game. But Hansama, all the way back on the back of the fountain, does not want to give up his life today. G2 will take the Nexus, and they will demolish Rogue.
A one-sided affair. G2 absolutely stomped Rogue in this game, and a fantastic performance from everyone across the board. The bot lane, of course, coming up clutch. Mickey having a great Braum performance. Jankos tracking inspired throughout the map. And Rekkles just, doing damage and killing people. 11-1-3 was his final scoreline. It's, this is the G2 that I think many expected. The fact that they had this sort of performance, they didn't look great against Astralis yesterday. They got a win for sure, and there were definitely a lot of positives to be taken away from that game. And to be fair, they looked good against Misfits last week. A little slow. Sure, there are certain things you can criticize, but then, of course, they did throw that game in the end. But here, this has been their cleanest game that I think we've seen from them for the majority of the split. And it's against Rogue! Yep.
Such a good performance all around from G2 as we hear
some freestyling.
Hip-hop a part of his style. Obviously, great performance from G2. Commiserations to Rogue, but they have plenty more opportunities to make it through to playoffs. In fact, they just need one more win, really, to guarantee their spot. Your key player of the game votes, if you're on Twitter, you can go to @LEC and vote for Jankos, Rekkles, or Mickey as one of your 3 options.
I know who it's going to be.
Should be Mickey. Because why does Rekkles get the kills? Because Mickey.
I mean, I agree with you, but
Mickey survived the bot lane dive at level 1. Did Rekkles survive?
2,000 kills.
Rekkles died. Mickey did not. Just saying. Putting it out there. Seems like Katz's training program of 100 solo queue games, 100 ARAMs, and a 10-kilometer run is working.
I mean, but I think, is it him or is it just the team?
I mean, it was definitely the team in that game. It was great performance all around from G2. We'll soon hear from Jankos, though, before Rekkles joins us in the LEC post-game lobby. Don't you guys go anywhere.
Play the music, Kevin.
Systems are overloading. We can't risk another game.
We need to take a break and regroup.
We're starting to lose our mind. Captain, we cannot go back to Elo Helm. Last time it took us months to get out of it.
Initiate break protocol.
Hurry up! Yes! Yes! I did it! We did it! We did it!
Even the biggest champ needs a break.
welcome back from the break as G2 Esports once again towers over Rogue in the regular split. Genko's a dominating performance from you and G2, and I gotta ask, where were you guys in the last 2 weeks?
I mean, we were there, of course, but we were in a slump, and I'm really happy that we are out of it now.
In the last broadcast interview that you did, despite winning your match, you weren't actually that happy with your performance. How are you feeling about your performance against Rogue today?
Yeah, I mean, I think today we overall played a good game, right? I think we made few mistakes on the map, and I think individually we also played quite well. So I'm happy with my performance, but also everyone's performance in this game.
In an interview with Caps that I did yesterday on the broadcast, he talked about G2 taking a while in order to find the picks that they want in the current meta. Do you also believe that this was one of the things that G2 was going through during the slump that you're kind of describing at the moment?
Yes, I do think that our Baldy guy is right. And I think that basically we had to relearn or restudy how do we draft around priority picks or what we consider priority picks. And I think that this week we prepared for both teams quite well, Astralis and Rogue. And it paid off, right? Next week we will face Vitality and Fnatic, which last time against them we had like a absolute 0-2 week, like super stomp both games. So I'm also looking forward to next week.
Do you think G2 having such a good track record against Rogue almost gives G2 the mental edge, or maybe vice versa?
I think it used to be this way. I used to think Rogue is not a very good team for like last year, the whole year at least, and they proved me wrong really, really hard in playoffs in Spring Split 2021, where they 3-1 us. So right now I respect them way, way harder, and of course they are one of the best European teams along Mad Lions. So every time we play against them, we try to prepare as well as we can. And maybe it's different. It's going to be different in BO5 because, like you mentioned, regular season we always win. But I'm just happy that we can pick up wins on the board because we really need them right now.
So it is good for G2 that you have beaten Rogue, which was like the first place team in the LEC. But if I may ask, where would you realistically place G2 purely based on form in the LEC standings?
I think I would probably place Rogue and Fnatic above us, actually. I think Fnatic is playing quite well, and it seems like the roster changes did feed them a lot. And for Misfits and Mad Lions, I think Mad Lions has a lot of good games, but they run it down often for no reason. Like they have the game in their bag, but then they decide to like run it. Like maybe a person or 2 people, 3 people, doesn't matter, right? The whole team, they just like overstep, then they throw the game, and then they have to win it again. So I think Mad Lions will be way better in playoffs when they actually stop venting. And for Misfits, I feel like we should have won against them, and they were actually not doing anything in the game against us, and maybe it was the draft difference. So next time we face them, hopefully we can get our win.
So you talked about G2 feeling more comfortable with the drafts today, and also a few G2 players have gone on interviews to say, hey, okay, we are still adjusting to maybe new coaching staff and the possible influence they're bringing. If this final form that G2 is looking for is 100%, which percentage was current G2 that we saw on stage today?
I think this question is hard to answer. I would hope that this was like a bad G2 and we are going to see even better G2, right? But maybe it's just... maybe it will be a lie. So I want to say that maybe this G2 would be maybe like 60%, maybe something like that. So, I think we had a pretty good game today. And I think we still have a long way to go to be able to contest really good teams in playoffs. And of course, we still want to make it to playoffs considering our last 2 weeks. So yeah, we have to keep our head high and keep learning and win games.
And we will certainly keep an eye on your future track record. Lovely to talk to you. Thank you for the interview.
Thank you.
And after the break, we'll be talking with Rekkles, celebrating his 2000 win at the post-game lobby with Sharks in Trouble. So we'll see you back here.